up, livers and lovers? Hi, I'm Elliot, and you're you. It's nice to meet. It feels quite natural to almost start a conversation with a screen, with What else do you say? I'm kind of talking to myself, but I'm not. I'm talking to you, and wherever you are, whenever you are, as you're watching this and listening to my voice, I am too. Which is to also say or infer that here I am in my now, in my place, simultaneously exchanging presence and beingness. I don't mean in a woohoo new age sense. I mean information. I mean when you're thinking right now, whenever you're watching this, it's like I'm in the room with you, and your thought waves are like dancing with mine. Of course, modern science would not corroborate this as much as modern science does not collaborate with itself so as to affirm this knowledge, because I don't fucking know anything that I didn't learn from modern science ish. Even my saying that isn't quite entirely true. Anyways, we live in this now moment, experiencing this kind of linear timeline shared as a collective. And reality is so much very more simply different than we've been lied to. I don't mean we haven't discovered. I do intentionally mean lie. I don't even really mean like maliciously, because who the fuck am I to assert personality, to essentially just like the adversary. I don't give a shit. And this share tonight is complex, but thank you. I'm going to use as my anchor what we've talked about thus far, and remind myself the truth in that my videos are for the few. And you're listening to it. So if you're listening to it, then I can rely on your sense, intuition, your intellect, and your forever growing mastery of your emotions. So I need not dumb too many things down, only as much as I need to dumb them for myself. Nor do I need to filter or inhibit that which I so most want to say, either in flow, continuity, or just fucking blunt directness. Because I don't know, all of these conversations will always have a lot of me in it. At least, like, you know, where I've been, where I've come from, and where I'm always going. And in this life, and kind of relearning, or maybe just learning for the first time, a kind of humanity. The nature of my like consciousness exposure in this form has been that I'm perceived as highly intellectual, even I want to say, like, upon first impressions, and I want to say to a fault, due to my own inner workings of starting at the end of something and then working my way back to the beginning so as to understand it. So it creates this truly ill-perceived persona, ill-perceived persona of my thinking I know what you're going to say, or I already know what's going to happen, or anything like that. And so I, a part of my own thinking intrinsically too is it's like impossible for me to think that. I just don't. I like I quite truly can't create those assumptions in my mind in the same way that uh, like mentally unique humans around the world, you know, have their little quirks. My like a common misunderstanding is the behaviors of the autistic in their I'm going to say refusal to make eye contact, as opposed to inability, because that's more really truly it. It's just they adhere to a different set of laws. Essentially, the ones they've agreed to for their own being and expression in this now. And why I say that is to express my gratitude to you for my healing and my opportunity to express my healing. Because I've learned and then had to unlearn to essentially like pre-validate everything that I say. I detest convincing anyone of anything, but the contrary, like the contrary pole to detesting convincing anybody to do fuck all is an incessant need to explain myself so as to be believed, thereby convincing everybody or anybody of myself. So this is kind of like a little personal anecdote in league with the topic of this post. It's just a cool thing to mark progress. And there is no progress marked or measured unless against something. And measuring it with you, listener, watcher, viewer, lover, liver, kidney, lung, heart. It's a blessing and a grace, so thank you. What I want to speak about tonight is complex, like I mentioned, and the product of probably 2 or 3 other posts that I haven't done yet. So I'm starting at the end. It's so effective. And I don't fight my own intuition all too much, or at all, really. And my intuition is to kind of just go for it. The reason is because it's come to my awareness, perhaps even my the naivety of my awareness, that in these coming times of now and more next, while well aware of the very real, I'm going to classify them as crises, disasters. I'm going to include warfare, or faring war, or fair war. It always, it kind of always excluded me, at least in the storytelling of it. And in being a master of my own creation, or remembering, anyways, I'm going to keep it there a little bit. I do want it a little bit on the peripheral. That said, my soul, disembodied, incarnating, loves adventure, excitement, and violence. So, whatever. It's interesting to communicate with different or multiple intuitives in this manner, because I can feel as our community is timeless, we're already one in family and brothers and sisters, but through the linearity of experience, our threads of being haven't yet wound around each other as a community. So while each of you, for instance, are tying to me and I'm tying to you, only through, I don't want to say me, but like I'll say this video, for instance, and very, very, very likely, I almost want to guarantee it, the other videos that we all watch too. Maybe like the one other channel that we all watch too, because it's like gotten to that point where we really only watch like one other channel. So, anyways, I'm just expressing the kind of like, oh, why do I want to say like 3 different things right now? Be quiet, just listen, silence. It's actually quite like hermetically wise of a suggestion. To think less while you listen. Violence gets a bad rap. I gotta shift time a second. Violence isn't evil. Fucking evil isn't evil. Evil isn't evil too. If fucking evil is its own kind of evil. It is what it is. And intent is the rationale of like the universal emotion. So truly, intent is kind of like the ephemeral mediator of good and evil by judgment. And I so judge violence to not be evil. I've said that I'm not that I like violence, and I hope that you can hear what I mean by that. I've never gotten in a fight with another person in my whole life. I don't especially love violent entertainment, especially not like humans, like wrestling or UFC or boxing or football or hockey or baseball or all that shit. The smirk that you're seeing is that I love anime, but that's been a growing reliance or relationship for another post. And why I say violence, why I'm talking about violence at all, is shit's gonna get violent. Death is not at all what we've been told. And you can't really be told otherwise, but it is a thing that one can know and come to experience as themselves, in themselves, both. Kind of more in line with our shared and truest eternal reality. Listening to the words that I'm using a year ago, or maybe 14 months, I would never have even begun to dream. I wouldn't have. It would have been outside my realm of imagination to think that I would be like speaking so specifically. Instead, I would hear myself as being like overly verbose. Instead, I'm being as specific and effortful towards right speech and a reclamation of language between us. I listen to my music here on YouTube, and it's probably worth it for me to get like the membership thing or whatever to not have advertisements, considering how much I detest advertisements and love detesting things. But I've shared this in another post as well. You can use anything for everything, and it's a minor thing to be annoyed with the interruptions and the mind swiping and the the intentional distraction, the attempts at mental, emotional, physical, social, cultural manipulation that is like at once the source and the failing that is what we call advertising. So anyways, advertisements, YouTube, stupid. I literally say that as funny as I say that as like a mantra. There's no it's actually a very resonant and like rhythmic emotion. It's that I've given myself in response to the, as opposed to being like and it being kind of volatile and slightly different. Like there's no base, there's no foundation. It's almost like it's happening for the first time every time. Like, this, I hate this. No, I hate this. No, I just like that. Like advertising comes up, I'm just like, that's dumb. Click. They're stupid. Click. Almost like the same. It's regardless of even what it is. There's this advertisement that comes up as like for Elevate or something. Never mind the my own like cosmic tongue-in-cheek joke of the advertisement. But it's this fucking app or whatever. Everything's a fucking app these days, and not an appetizer. Remember when apps were appetizers? Remember when appetizers cost less than entrees? I don't know. Anyways, it's an app that like helps you find words for things and helps you with grammar or something, and like maybe has like brain games or something like that. I haven't heard it for too long, but that's more or less what it does. It basically it's like you're stupid. Use this app. It'll help you. It'll help you be smarter. It's like no. Like this is for dumbing you. Isn't that like super obvious? Making you stupid? Like I don't need an app to tell me how to tell me new words. I don't need an app to correct my spelling. So does that mean like I can just like spell erroneously forever? Or like write something that's really stupid and this app is just gonna like fucking like machine learn read it and be like, it would sound better if it would sound, and then like replace word more eloquent if you said it like this. It's like, oh yeah, great, just click another click. It's like automatic cars. It's like manual cars. Requires you to be smarter, requires you to be a better driver. Is essentially, and I don't mean that it's funny, she's like using words. Like I'm not using that as a throwaway word. Essentially, this is essentially no. It is essentially a safer way to operate an automobile. But the lie of convenience is stupidity. It's to make us stupid. What's this have to do with violence, Elliot? Or polarization or anything like that? Have you met me? I start at the end. I go to the beginning. I fucking do some waypoints in the scene. And then in the end, I don't know. We've had a lot of laughs. We don't know what we've done. And we've learned something. Join the club. It's small. And it sounds like bam, bam. My point is, today, I had an exchange with the law, the police. I was kind of like wrestling with myself as to whether I wanted to share this or where it was coming from, my desire to share. Having so little friends, I know that sometimes you just need to like talk to someone and like talk things out for yourself, just to be heard, especially in a very like high energy and potentially like shocking experience. So I always get like I still get a little sad whenever I think of like my own isolation. For it's like from the depth of my awareness of its thoroughness. That said, I'm blessedly becoming more and more aware of the individuations that are, I'm just going to say not me, because that's what I want. I mean, we're all one. I want not me. And I'm just becoming more aware of the individuations through like a multi-dimensional experience that have been with me and that I can recognize as being with me the whole time. And I even mean that more than just one, because that's how many it's been so far beyond myself. But that's also exactly how many that I deem necessary for the purpose. I'll give you the short story. I have a cousin that's like a brother, and he pulled a knife on me. And stabbed at me repeatedly. And there was a moment that I saw through him and knew that the balance of kind of like covering his ass and not getting in trouble, by killing me, was outweighed what he could call like I didn't mean to. At which point I knew the truth of the superficial layer of mortal danger that I was in. So, I basically told him to call the cops. And basically, somebody heard the commotion. I was like, call 911. He was like, call 911? I'll call 911. Like you, perhaps, it's interesting to hear people in front of you lie outright about you, like right in that moment, right? Like it always, it like, I guess, yeah, it fascinates me to sit there and be like, you're like actually just like completely making up what you're talking, like what you're saying and claiming to be the truth to someone, and not just anyone, but like 911. While I'm here, present, listening, you full knowing that like that's not what's happening at all. There's a difference between knowing your divinity and thusly having faith in your life, your lifetime, your lifespan, your safety, and being appropriately cautious when it comes to like mortal threats and accidents, errors, either by yourself or from others. And so by like giving credence to that divine protection, you'll live forever as long as you keep avoiding dying, versus the lazy perspective on fate, which or self divinity. It's like, oh, like I'm one, I'm God, like I've done this, I've seen that, I've done this, like I'm gonna live forever. I don't have to like, I don't care. Whatever, like, we're good. Everything will take care of itself. I don't have to do anything. That's how you die. Anyways, I think in part tonight I did and do just need to talk to someone. So thanks. But this thing occurred to me. That we're going to all be exposed to a great deal more violence than I want to say the sweetest of us are at present imagining. And that's because in the truth of co-creation and a shifting paradigm of one way of to another way of. There's a great many uh, thoughts and people running around that are very dominated by fear and only think in terms of that level of aggression between people. And I've been really enjoying like a lot because it's like it's the polar opposite of just about all of my life. But really a lot like last year. Uh, where like people are just kind of like kind or being themselves or opening up. They're it's working. We're doing it. And the polar balance to that is my experience today, where people are going to continue to polarize towards that kind of mutual kindness. I'll say in the most judgmental way, versus like the fear and the blame and the hate. And I don't need to tell you who those kinds of people wish the most of violence towards, right? The brightest lights. Brightest lights and the quietest sounds. So take that in. There is responsibility to our own defense. And next year is going to be a climax that perhaps this world has never ever seen before. Whether it's next year or over the course of our lot of like the our soon to be lived lives, I'm confident that that will kind of be a threshold that gets passed anyways. Um, or at least to be the beginning, like a drastic beginning to a cosmic or dimensional division between the people here on this planet or plane. It. And then there's this, and this is a little bit of like a social commentary. I'm in danger. I also kind of wasn't in danger in that I was in a position to defend myself and would have done so to meet any need of escalating aggression against me. Uh, karmic, I mean that in the most blessed way, so I won't say it because I don't want it to be misconstrued. I just mean like who we really are and all that we've lived and chosen to never be forgotten, and thereby like forever growing. Uh, it's like I like violence. It's not really expressed in this lifetime, but basically, I have no tolerance for injustice and all the patience in the world, and I mean that in the divine sense, world, to be adversarial if only in temporality, so as to sacrificially and ultimately lift the greatest love even higher for us all, and especially. So I know I'm a bit of a soldier. And when I was attacked, there were no empowered onlookers. There were plenty of onlookers. No one would have done anything, and all of them are habitual watchers. So they watch or they look away. Then we call this number. And these enforcers show up. And they get to decide our fate. Because they have guns. And the social confidence to say what we get to do and what not to do. And that's so fucking backwards. Because we should all love our bodies enough to know how to defend it against other bodies that would do us harm. And we should all have access to loving each other so much and so simply and in so many degrees that for someone to behave as such to anyone else could only happen to someone in community, right? That person will always belong to a community and must occur in some community, kind of in some like environment of a community. And the social pressures, like the love pressures, mitigate that type of behavior. Because there's no bail, there's no running away, there's no possibility of not getting caught. And there's no escaping punishment. We look after our own. And not in some kind of fucking Hollywood sense. in like the simplest, easiest way to comprehend. It's complex, are like entity structures. But my cousin is also a victim. There are no victims. But for the sake of this story, of life, his energetic structures would be healthier and more well-being, and therefore, and thusly more well-meaning, in an environment where he was supported. Let alone, uh, like, never mind shunned, because that like, but he like, there's no, like, the police kind of sort everything out. We went our separate ways, and then what? We carry on like nothing happened for the rest of the day. That's not realistic, and yet that's um, that's the supposed course of action. By the way, it wasn't as such that like a situation as such that I like was going to press charges or anything like that. But it wasn't even really that the case. He lied enough. Uh, there was enough evidence pointing indicating towards what really happened. But like nobody wants, like nobody got cut. Nobody, like no. So just don't do this, do that, and then move on. Nothing fucking happens. And things are happening quickly now. For those of us acting as vanguards or gateways or first swords, first shields. What is happening quickly for us now, and as we commune over the coming months, is going to start to happen quickly to the uninitiated and to the unprepared, because we're changing, or rather the environment that we're all sharing, the part of the neighborhood that the earth is traveling through. It's got different air, it's got different smell to it, and it's there's going to be a lot of fear and a lot of conditioned responses to that fear in the form of violence and hate. And I don't want this to be too much of a downer, because it really is exciting times. But I don't really need to tell you, I think. And maybe, like me, uh, despite everything, you've never felt more alive, or in life, or alive on purpose. And that's fucking worth everything. accept. And that accept is why we're alive anyways. Except what, Elliot? Except I love you, obviously. Duh. I'm the bad guy. Duh. I think that's it. I kind of rambled on for a bit, but it's what I like to do with you. I'm not talking about anything in particular. Just share. And sharing with you, if you're watching this, then if you're watching this, if you're not watching this, then I'm not talking to you. Like, what does that even mean, Elliot? I just mean that you can probably be less scared because it would be appropriate to be already scared or like cautious or like just weary of that kind of likelihood or your involvement in it or whatever. But I'm not a scared guy. Being not loved or good enough and things like that. Those were my fears. But like existential fears. Anyways, so maybe I'm just saying I'm with you in that it's time to remember how to fight, at least to defend yourself and our children. Because they'll need us to fight for them until, I don't know, they're like fucking 8 and shooting fucking lasers out their fucking nostrils. Okay, that's it. I love you. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But you will when I do. It seems I love you. And it's good to know that we've got each other's back. Yes, and we can say that with every I love you. Namaste. I love you.